Do 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 do, funky fantasy. Do 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 do, the bull. Do 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 do, Stratoceros. Bum bum down 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 down. It's the war of nerds. Yippee ki style. How y'all doing? Welcome back to the War of Nerds podcast. Episode number I lost track a long time ago. As always, I'm the funky fantasy man, Nathan Helm.
I'm Alfred Muller, and I'm a cop with a loose cannon.
Ooh, I'm Ryan Morgan, also known as Stratoceros.
And by the way, we all have machine guns. Ho, ho, ho. Have to start with one of the classic lines from Alan Rickman, one of the best TV movie villains of all time. And it's, a lot of people with like live action, general action and adventure TV shows don't really consider those people to be the villains, but more so just like the antagonists. But no, Alan Rickman was the villain of Die Hard 1. And so to start off with an easy question, gentlemen, which Die Hard was your favorite and which one was your least favorite?
I think it's
start
obvious.
with the hard questions.
I think it's obvious which one the least favorite is for everybody, but A Good Day to Die Hard, the last one that they did where his son is like trying to pass it off to the son, shouldn't, like, I know I was a huge proponent for GT and Dragon Ball Z, but that's one movie where I could say it's not canon. Let's get rid of it. So that for me, that's an easy answer. Like out of all of them, I've watched it twice, and twice I DNF'd it because I could not get through that movie. And that's sad for me. I'm a movie buff. I can finish crappy movies, but that one I couldn't. As far as the favorite goes, Live Free or Die Hard for me. The fourth one, huge Justin Long fan. So I think they played off of each other really well with their dynamic in that movie, and I kind of loved the idea of the hacker fire sale type thing. So for me, that was my favorite and my least favorite.
Quick off topic, but as for DNFing movies, which I don't do very often either, I came real close with that quote unquote remake of the Fantastic Four. Ooh, I was ready to.
Yep.
Anyways, Alfred, please. What is yours?
I'd have to say it's a toss-up between the first one and the third one for my favorite. I love the original one. It's classic. It's amazing. Also based off a book. But the third one, I love the return of Hans Gruber's brother. So you get like that, I'm avenging my brother, and you get like this
Irons.
Simon Says kind of thing, because the guy's named Simon, so it's a riddle, it's do this or this happens kind of thing. So I like the take, moving it away from just traditional Die Hard movies from 1 and 2 to this one, which was like a grand scale travel, not just central locations. But I love those two. And then I'm with you, Ryan. I don't even think I've watched the last in the franchise. Live Free or Die Hard is probably the last one I saw.
So I think Live Free or Die Hard is number 4. A Good Day to Die Hard is number 5.
Correct.
So A Good Day to Die Hard is the one that you hate.
Yep.
Okay. So it's so tough for me because Alan Rickman like started the series off so banging. He's Officer John McClane. I'm here with Holly Gennaro. Come out, John. And like he was awesome. And then you had the classic, taxi driver and the classic cop who was on John's side, who they actually did a cameo with that guy in another movie that I was watching where said character wanted to meet the actor. I think it was Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It was Andy Samberg's character, and he wanted to meet the guy who played the cop in the first Die Hard movie. So they brought him in as a cameo. It's just like, man, I don't want to hear about none of that. Go away. But the first one's really, really good because it's iconic and classic. So that's nostalgia factor for me. But it's not
Mhm.
my favorite. My favorite, and maybe this is a little bit non-traditional, but it's a toss-up between the second one and the third one.
Okay.
I really like the second one because of the airport stuff going on. There's something about an airport and just that snarky freaking, airport captain who just I loved
The
his
security guard.
smart,
Yep.
yeah, his smart mouth was just awesome.
Yeah.
But I feel like the action was the best in the second one. The second one had the best action in
Mm.
my opinion.
I
But
love when
as
he
for
comes
like best
back in
vil
the airport and he like has the blanks in the gun and he starts firing and it scares the guy and it's just like he's firing
yeah,
blanks. That was a great like wow.
exactly. Yeah, he's shooting around, and he tosses it back. He's shooting blanks, jack off. Like
Mhm.
thinking it's not specifically what he said in that scene, but if you've seen it, then you know exactly what he says. But the third one has the best villain of the entire series, hands down. Jeremy Irons is a classic actor who's been in so many great things. He's also the best Alfred ever to play Alfred in Batman. Um, some people
Mhm.
say Michael Caine, but I'm just like, no, Jeremy Irons nailed it. But he was also the voice. I see Alfred. I can see your eye twitching. You've got something to say about that.
No, I actually agree with you. I agree. I don't think that
Oh,
yeah.
I thought we were gonna have a war nerds. I was excited.
Oh,
All
oh,
right.
we will, because I was the one who disagreed.
Okay, fine.
But
Disagree.
continue first. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the whole Simon says, John will go to the corner of blah 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 and bring the with you. And first of all, Samuel L. Jackson was hilarious in that movie. He's like, and my name ain't Jesus, it's Zeus. He was saying, hey, Zeus. You got a problem with that? No, man, I ain't got a problem. Much more colorfully, of course. But yeah, Die Hard 3 is fun. They're running around New York. They're having to kind of figure
Mhm.
out like some clues and riddles and like a little bit about history, naming off the names of like the schools and stuff to figure out where the bomb is, or even if
Mhm.
there is one. All the while, Jeremy Irons, he's just awesome, is running around with his little German. You might as well just call her a Nazi because that's pretty much what she is. Either that or like a Spetsnaz soldier, um, running around and doing all that stuff, and that was just a lot of fun watching that. So best villain was number 3, but because I'm kind of with Ryan. Number 4 is so much fun just because of Justin Long. This hacker guy who gets thrown into the middle of it, and classic kind of. He reminds me a bit of Shia LaBeouf from the earlier Transformers.
Yeah.
Um, in the way that he kind of behaves. But man, you got some of the best lines in the fourth one, especially when Officer McClane kicks that Asian chick right down the elevator shaft. He's telling her boyfriend, "Oh yeah, the last time I saw her, she was at the bottom of the elevator shaft with an SUV rammed up her." So, there's some fun there. A Good Day to Die Hard. I watched it all the way through. Um, I enjoyed it for the sense of it's it's John McClane, it's Die Hard, it's Bruce Willis, and I love Bruce Willis. But as for like the story itself, it was trash. Um,
Mhm.
and the guy who played his son, I'm not really a fan of his acting to begin with. I don't really think he's all that great. Some people love him, but I'm just like, I don't see it. I don't know if either of you saw the Jack Reacher movie with Tom Cruise. There was two of them. Um,
Yeah.
so in the first one, the guy who played John McClane's son played the villain
Yeah.
in the first. Yeah, so Um, the Jack Reacher TV show is way better than the movies. Um, much more book accurate. But anyways, yeah, the fifth one, I would challenge you guys to go back and try to, well, Ryan mostly to stomach it, um,
I'll
if you
try to
can,
finish it.
because there is some sick scenes. I mean, like driving a semi truck into a helicopter off a bridge. Sick.
Mhm.
See, that's where my issues with like sequels getting progressively more big uh kind of fall flat for me. Like the Fast and the Furious franchise, I can't stand watching it because it's no longer Fast and the Furious. Like taking a Die Hard franchise and then making it bigger explosions and cars through airplanes and that kind of stuff. I'm like, that's kind of getting away what Die Hard is. Uh, he didn't have those kinds of things in the original movies. He's almost like MacGyvering his way through. And for the younger audience, MacGyver was a TV guy who would put together like a rocket launcher from hanger and scrap parts in a airplane hangar. But I'm talking like a wire hanger in that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's kind of what John McClane would do, and he was always outgunned, outnumbered, and he made his way through scenarios that way. With the later movies, it's just, especially the fifth movie, it reminds me of the Fast and the Furious franchise, where now it's no longer racing in the back streets; it's taking cars and launching them at things and whatnot for bigger explosions and more wow factor than and getting away from the story. Uh, but that's where that kind of, I don't know if I'll watch the fifth movie again.
So
See,
go
yeah,
ahead, Nathan. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I agree, but I also disagree with you because you have to think about it. In the earlier movies, John McClane didn't have the resources to be able to use things like driving a semi off a bridge into a helicopter. It's totally something John McClane would do. It's just, and the other things he had to MacGyver his way. And I mean, that still is kind of MacGyvering. I mean, launching a semi into a helicopter is totally something he would do. Um, as for the Fast and Furious movies, I still love them. They're still fun. But I mean, yeah, they got away from like, old school Tokyo Drift and like, old school, Paul Walker and Tyrese Gibson, driving through Miami or whatever, like the old school, I can't even think of the theme song. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, so that's totally something else. But for Die Hard 5, I think back to John McClane literally taking down an entire plane, an entire aircraft.
Mhm.
That's larger than, like that's totally some driving a semi off a bridge into a helicopter type stuff. It's just,
Yeah.
that's the way I look at it, is he did stuff like that. He just didn't do it. Number 3 would have been the opportunity for him to do some stuff like that, like drive a semi off a bridge into a helicopter. What made me mad about 5 was they tried to make it too much like government this, and you got to get John McClane because he's the only one who can like take on the big bad, like sell agents or whatever. You're kind of making it more of like a James Bond makes like Sonic the Hedgehog, like two things
Yeah.
that don't make sense combining together. But if I could see John McClane driving semi trucks off of bridges into helicopters more, I would love that, because that's totally John McClane for you. So like get screwed, like um but I don't know, bringing his son, like he had a son, like you didn't even remember that. And if you really think back to like the first one, you remember he had a son.
Yep.
When he called back to Holly, um,
Yeah, he had the
maybe
son
it
and the
was
daughter.
It was the first
yeah,
one,
son
yeah.
and the daughter.
Because they
You
go
met
and
his
interview
daughter.
him.
Yeah, they go and enter. That's right. Yeah, because it tells the one chick that he'll call deportation services if she doesn't let them do the interview. I hated that guy. I was really glad
Yeah.
when Holly got stuck on the plane with him.
Punches, tasers him.
But what's that?
She tasers him in the in the airplane bathroom.
It was beautiful. Um, now I don't remember 5 as much, and that's what goes to show that it didn't impact me in the same way, because I barely remember much of it, if really any of it. I don't even think his daughter was a part of it.
Nope.
And if she was, I don't remember. She was in the 4th one. I remember that for sure, because Justin Long like helped her a couple times. And he was like trying to freaking chase her boyfriend off at the beginning of the movie and all this other stuff. But I only remember how the 5th one starts. Like, that's how little of an impact it had on me. I remember him driving a semi truck off of a bridge into a helicopter. Wait, no, that was number 4.
No, so the semi truck was 5. So I was gonna go over it. I got a whole list stockpiled now from your conversation.
Oh,
but
he jammed a car up into a helicopter in number
the
4.
police
That's
cop
yeah.
car went out of the underpass tunnel up a ramp and then hit the elevator. And I was gonna say, in every single movie, an aerial vehicle gets blown up Because in the first one, the helicopter gets blown up above the tower. In the second one, the plane goes down. The third one, how the villain dies is in a helicopter that gets
At the
taken
end.
down at the very end. And then in the
The
fourth
hotel,
one,
yep.
the cop car hits the helicopter. And in the fifth one, it's the semi truck. So, like, that
See, that
is
part is okay though.
on par for their series. It does get grander in scale, I guess, as it goes up, like what Alfred was saying with the Fast and Furious
Yep.
franchise, which, not to get off topic, but I think they accepted that was their route they wanted to go, is bigger and bolder with every movie, which lost some fans, gained some fans. But back to Die Hard,
And kept some
definitely,
fans.
yeah, absolutely. Yep. So they gained some, they kept some, they lost some, but I wanted to retract to the best villain. So if you ask me all 5 movies, 1 through 4 is almost a toss up for best movie for me. Every single one of them have solid points. I love the airport in the second one. I love the action scenes in it. I wasn't so over the top with the villains in that because there were too many of them
Yeah,
to
there
like
were.
really nail down one. Because there was all
Agreed.
the double crossing. But for me, Alan Rickman, even though that's not my favorite movie out of him, he just launched that franchise. Between him and Bruce Willis, it was just such a good back and forth and performance with them. And I think that's what gave a lot of the life to the third movie with his brother coming in. And I'm not taking anything away from that performance in the third movie
No,
because
not
he
at all.
was a great villain. But just like between the two, I feel like if Alan Rickman wasn't as good in the first movie, it wouldn't have sold it so well in the third movie. But I mean,
You
you could make an argument for either one there because it goes back the other way.
you remember the scene? John's up there. He's walking around. I don't think his feet had gotten cut up yet, but
Hmm.
he had his packs of cigarettes. And Alan Rickman was up there. His character, the oh
Like,
what Hans Gruber
Yep.
was
yeah.
his name, but he was they ran into it. He and John held up the gun. And he's just like, "Who are you? What are you doing up here?" Like blah blah blah. He's like, my name. He looked over. He's like, "My name's blah blah blah." I don't even remember, but he did an
Right, I think.
American accent. He's just like,
Yep. He
Yeah.
fakes the American accent.
and I'm
He
just
was
like
up there looking
looking at
for
him,
the
and he's like,
detonators or something, looking to see if looking for something, the explosives, to see if they were
mm-hmm.
still up there.
Yeah, and John's just like, you smoke. He's just like, yeah, bad habit. He's like, yeah. He hands it to him, and then he's like, you know how to use a gun? Yeah. He hands it to him, and he hands it over. He's like, it says something in German. And he's just like, where are the detonators? And John turns around and he clicks. And he's just like, "Oh yeah, you think I would give you the ammunition? You freaking idiot!" He tosses it back. He's like, "Way to go, genius!"
It is. It's
The
just the
the
back
way
and
that
forth. The like
Yep.
yeah,
Ryan was saying, the back and forth between Alan Rickman and Bruce Willis, the characters themselves playing off of one another, and just the charisma oozing off of Hans as he's viewed at the moment as this low life terrorist, this scumbag, but in reality he's a thief. He's doing all of this to steal money so he can go off and be rich on his own, but he's doing it by killing people and taking over this Nakatomi building. And then you got McClane, who's like, I just wanted to come here to make up with my wife and go to this silly Christmas party, and now I'm in the middle of having to save people I don't know on my vacation, and you're
Hmm.
driving me crazy. So no, I didn't give you a gun with bullets. I'm not stupid.
I'm an extraordinary thief, Mrs. Gennaro, or should I call you Mrs. McClane, Mrs. Holly McClane?
Hmm.
And is all that back and forth, and John sending the freaking the dude down with the sign. Now I have a machine gun too. Ho, ho, ho. It's like send them up there. It just like, oh my gosh, the first one, and like John taking out individuals all at once, one at a
Hmm.
time, going after them, sending them back, having that bickering back and forth was just like, yeah, I took out you guys, Hans. What are you gonna do now? He's like, come and get me. Yippee-ki-yay, mother trucker. Like,
Sergeant Al
oh man.
Powell. Can we all take this moment to recognize the greatest buddy in arms, backup, guy who has your back in all of cinema.
I love him
Yeah,
as an actor.
Mhm.
Like
Yep.
him
fantastic.
him and the taxi car driver were
Mhm.
were both great. Well, what the heck was his name?
Theo.
Mhm.
No, the taxi cab driver.
Oh, the taxi
Um,
driver or the limo driver?
Limo
or the limo
driver.
driver. He's
Yeah,
like, you're
Theo.
you're all right.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it
Theo?
is
No,
Theo.
Theo was the bad guy.
No, Theo was the limo driver. I'm almost
I shall
positive.
look it up.
Started with an R or something. A
Oh no,
R
yeah.
R Arman R not
Oh,
Argyle.
I think you're right. Yeah, it was
Argyle.
Argyle. Yeah.
Argyle. They're right. Yeah, you like, you're all
Yeah.
right, Argyle.
Theo was the bad
Um,
guy. You're right.
yeah, I was like Theo. I was just like, that sounds like the bad dude that Argyle like ran over with the hit
Punches in the
smacked him
face.
with the limousine.
Yeah. Yep, I think you're right.
Yeah. Theo was the dude who did all the tech stuff for
Mhm.
Hans. Pretty
Yep.
sure he was trying to crack all the vaults and everything. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's just like Hans's whole crew talking about the fact he was being a thief, trying to steal all these bonds, from the Nakatomi Plaza, and then, right away, not expecting it, that one stupid dude, the higher than life, like reminds me of a
Yeah.
lawyer type dude trying to like negotiate with Hans. And this was
Drugged
Mhm.
out on
after,
cocaine.
yeah, and this was after the owner, Mr. What the heck was his name? It wasn't Mr. Nakatomi, but um Holly's
Mm,
boss.
Yeah, Joseph something or other.
For anybody who's listening, you can literally yell at us for not getting some of these names right, but um
Yeah. He's
Die
Taka
Hard's one of the ones.
Takagi.
Takagi, yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Takagi was literally shot, like just
Mm,
almost like right away. And you're just like, okay, so this guy, this Hans Gruber guy is not
messing
playing
around.
around. So you mentioned Christmas, Ryan. So it
Yeah.
brings me to my question. Is Die Hard 1 and 2 Christmas movies?
I think so. I mean, it depends how you classify Christmas movies, and you can make the argument either way. But in my opinion, it takes place during Christmas. It has gifts involved. It's around the Christmas season. And for a lot of people who don't like the traditional Christmas movies, it gives you an alternative. So for me,
Hmm.
yes, it's a Christmas movie.
Die Hard 1 is the best Christmas movie of all time. So I said it.
Home Alone. I still go with Home Alone, but
Home Alone's great. It's a Wonderful Life, Elf,
Yeah.
the list goes on. But
Die
Alfred,
Hard for me is
do you agree?
absolutely a Christmas movie. You have Christmas themes included within the story. You have Christmas references, like when
mhm.
Theo is talking, and it was the night before Christmas, and all through the tower you had three holes coming up through the back door. When the SWAT's coming in. So it's all Christmas themed. The ho ho ho, I have a machine gun, the Santa hats, it's a Christmas party. It's Christmas. And
Didn't they
and
have Christmas nicknames too for like their code names?
they might have.
Like when they
I don't
first
remember.
arrived, I could have sworn they had like
You
Christmas
might be right.
nicknames. And then like immediately when stuff started going south, they stopped using them. But maybe I'm wrong on
You
that or
could be right.
misremembering it.
I don't remember. But
Anyways, continue,
even
Alfred.
uh, for me, a Christmas movie, it has to take place during Christmas. It has to have Christmas themes. You don't have to have like the Santa Claus with a Tim Allen where you're literally Santa and you're going to the workshop. But also, it's not like Harry Potter where you have one or two scenes where they're opening Christmas presents. It's like Home Alone. It's like the first Lethal Weapon. It's like Die Hard 1 and 2 where they take place during that time period. Everybody within the story knows it's Christmas. They are acting accordingly, and that makes it a Christmas movie as long as those themes continue throughout. If you have a random movie, it's like, oh, it's Christmas, but we're not going to touch on Christmas at all. Then in my mind, that's not a Christmas movie. But when it actively
Yeah.
influences the story, that's a Christmas movie.
even Argyle at the beginning when he puts his music on, he's like, and there was a something on a Christmas Eve, but like he was, his Christmas rap music that he had on. So it's like, it's Christmas. So is number two. As even like
Mhm.
John mentioned, like, what is it? Second Christmas in a row. You're like
Mhm.
dealing with this crap. I just want to go on vacation,
And another
Now,
important fact is Christmas movies normally have a theme around family, and one and two are absolutely family driven. He's there to make amends with his wife in the first one, and he's there to meet his wife in the second one for a holiday together because they're starting to make
uh-huh.
amends and get back together a little bit.
Yeah. And then number three went away from that. And then number four came back to it with his daughter.
Mhm.
And it's got number four's got one of the most hilarious scenes and all of Die Hard. That's where John takes Justin, the tech dude. What's his actual name in the movie? Do you remember? Justin
Mm,
Long's character?
I'll tell you in just a second.
Yeah, tell me so I want to name it properly.
Matt
Um,
Farrell.
so when he's taking Farrell to that tech dude, like everybody's lights are off and they're in the helicopter. They see his one, genius tech friend whose lights are on. So they go there, lights, and then and the lady's yelling. She's just like, "Ah, friends are here." They go downstairs. He's just like, how dare you come into my lair? He's just like, he's got all these like Star Wars things and like coming references. And John's just like tossing crap. He's like, I don't give a crap about your stupid freaking. He's like, that was a replica of just like, like John's going all threat no mode against this dude who's just a big nerdy video game geek who knows tech stuff. And I love that scene. I mean, every time I watch it, I'm just bent over dying. Um,
Shout out because that's Kevin Smith, the director and actor, Silent Bob, who plays Warlock. That's like his code name, and that's
Wait,
who
that's
is
Kevin
that.
Smith?
That's Kevin
Yeah.
Smith in that scene.
The Kevin Smith that you're gonna see, Alfred?
Yep.
Oh
Yep.
man, I wish I.
One of
Okay,
my
all right.
favorite directors, favorite movie series. But yeah,
Absolutely.
Did Kevin Smith direct Die Hard?
no, 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 no.
Okay.
I think it was like a cameo for him, which I mean, like, there's a ton of cameos in this. I mean, like, Alan Rickman was a big pull, but the talking about the villains again, Timothy Oliphant in the fourth one was the villain, and like I loved him in oh my gosh, why am I blanking on it? It was the game Hitman. One of my favorite
That's
movies
right.
where he plays the assassin. Fantastic actor, and I think like he really blossomed when he switched into like action.
Mhm.
But then, like you were talking about the officer, that's Reginald Vel Johnson, I think, and he was the
Family Matters.
dad in Family Matters and played the same like cop type role. And like, if you were talking about fan theory and it was in a different city, like that's the Family Matters dad moved out of LA and moved to Chicago because of that incident. Like there are fan theories about
Yeah.
that. And then he switched to Chicago PD for that. So,
And
And
but
the
even
second
with
one,
yeah, the in the first one you've got the classic '80s principal character. I can't
yep,
remember his name,
from
but he's
Breakfast
the
Club.
he's the
Paul
rude.
Gleason.
Yep, him. He's the
Mhm.
know-it-all, rude, arrogant sergeant or lieutenant or whatever on the scene, or captain, whoever he is.
Mhm. What were you gonna say, Nathan?
yeah, I was gonna say in the second one, the dude who was the the colonel,
Mhm.
um, the dude with the slick back hair, he
Hmm.
was
Yep.
the president in Iron Man 3.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yep.
And
Some
he
people
was
forget
big
about
in
that.
movies back then too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
back in the 80s? Oh,
Even
absolutely, yeah.
even the soldiers they bring in, the head of them, he was a popular character actor around that time too. Uh, Leading the people that are it's he wasn't the colonel, he was like the sergeant and lieutenant that answered to the colonel, but he had all the
Was
arms
it
done
the
right.
was it the black gentleman who came in a little bit later and
Yeah.
he had like the white coats on where they have the weapons they changed to
Yes.
blinks and they faked the whole okay, him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a
It's
huge
John Amos.
no.
Yeah.
Well,
And
it's like you
then
talk about Wesley, like Wesley Snipes, he's like a really famous
mhm.
like cameo actor besides like Blade and um the The Expendables, which people forget that
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes within The Expendables, he played Doc. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, no, I think so. Here's a question for you:
Yeah.
was Die Hard? Do you think that was Bruce Willis's most memorable series that he did or movie that he did, or do you feel like there's something else that he's more well known for or
I
more
say that.
remembered by?
I know he was like
I would
a
have.
he did like
Go ahead, Alfred.
those romantic comedies to start, and he was in the show Friends, and he was in with Matthew Perry oh man, I'm blanking on the
The
name of the
Longest
movie.
Yard. No, not The Longest Yard. The Whole 9 Yards.
The Whole Nine Yards. Yes, he did that series too. But I
Yep.
still think Die Hard would be his number one. What
I
about
think
you, Ryan?
it depends like who you ask. The older generation, like before he even got on Friends, like he was doing movies all throughout the 80s, and I'm a huge Bruce Willis fan. The Last Boy Scout is one he did where he plays kind of like a
Armageddon.
mob star. Armageddon. That was a great series. But like The Fifth Element is what I knew him for most of my life. But Die Hard is like the close second with that. And then there's still so many more that he's done in the action realm. And he did cross into like what you were talking about with the romance realm too. And I don't know where
Yeah.
he actually started, but then like if you go sci-fi occult, 12 Monkeys is one of like the most what do they
Oh,
call it? Cult classic movies that he's ever done. And it like to me it was okay, but a lot of people were like super diehard fans of 12 Monkeys. Haha.
Sixth
But
Sense.
he was in Pulp Fiction.
yep,
He
Oh,
that
was
too.
in
yep.
all the Diehards, The Last Boy Scout, All the
Mhm.
Reds, Tears of the Sun,
Mhm.
Looper, Death
Mhm.
Becomes Her. That's another older one. Disney's The Kid, The Whole Nine
Yeah.
Yards, Look Who's
Sixth
Talking,
Sense.
12 Monkeys, Sin City, The
Oh
Jackal,
yeah.
Forgot about that.
Assassin, Surrogates.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
We already said The Expendables, Hostage, Striking Distance, 16 Blocks, Cop Out with Tracy Morgan. That one's hilarious.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hudson Hawk, Color of Night.
Oh man, Hudson Hawk is probably one a lot of people knew him from before.
Yep. Mercury Rising.
Mhm.
Fire with Fire. Ocean's 12. Lucky Number 11.
That's a good movie.
Moonrise Kingdom. The Last Man Standing. Um, Blind Date from 1987. Yeah. So those are just some of his movies that he's known for. I went on to, I can't get them wrong and try to like guess ball all of them. It's Bruce Willis. He
Yeah.
deserves the best.
Well,
And
The
he's done
Sixth Sense
a
is
number
another
of
one.
newer ones too. Yeah, that too.
I forgot
Yep.
Death
about
Wish
that.
was really good. That was one that just came out.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
that was a good one. The remake.
Really, really good. Um, there was one that just came out this last year or 2 years ago. Hold on, let me tell you. Out of Death from 2021, where he played a sheriff.
Okay.
Don't know that one.
That's
I'm gonna
really
have to
good. I recommend it.
I'm gonna have to get back into Bruce Willis movies because I know he did a bunch the last like 5, 6 years that are probably like not as good, but still to see Bruce Willis still
You
at
remember
his
He's
peak.
Unbreakable?
Yeah,
he's
that's another good
oh
one
my
too.
goodness, another great one.
Split,
Superhero
Glass,
movie.
Unbreakable.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, can we not to split off to James McAvoy, but can we just say that dude deserves a freaking Grammy for his role in Split?
Yep.
The multiple personalities that he played. Hi, my name's Hedwig. My name's Hedwig, and I want to stay with like all that
Better.
stuff, and then Samuel L. Jackson and Glass,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
That I remember when my dad showed me that movie, the Bruce Willis, the first one, Unbreakable. Yeah.
Unbreakable.
But he was like, "This is a superhero movie. You're gonna have to watch it, but think as you're watching it because it wasn't like the superhero movies everyone's used to now with Marvel and DC. This was a gritty, almost grimy version of superheroes, and it's like
Yeah,
the only his weakness is he cannot swim. He will drown, and it's just you see all this stuff, and it's like this is so. I mean, it's almost like the Watcher's style of superheroes, where it's more mundane and down to earth than the over the top. Which I know the Watchers have magical powers and all that stuff, but like that kind of mundane style of storytelling for a darker version of a superhero.
I'm totally gonna turn this into a joke, but he's a One Piece character. He took a devil fruit.
There you go.
Sorry, I had to toss that in there, but I really liked him in Red, and
Mhm.
he was also in G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
The second one where Channing Tatum died.
Mhm.
The only reason that movie was good is because of Bruce Willis. Otherwise, it was pretty much hot garbage.
Super disappointing too, because I'm a huge GI Joe fan of the old cartoon and all that stuff. And then I thought the
Yeah.
first movie was okay, and then they just went downhill. So
Yeah,
Agreed.
they did. The OG was the best one by
Mhm.
far. But yeah, when it comes to Bruce Willis, I just thought it would be cool to talk about some of his other movies too, since he has aphasia. So his wife's been watching him basically just fade away from life itself. He can't even communicate anymore. So his days in acting is over. Unless they did like a role like they did with did you see the movie The New Top Gun Maverick?
no, I haven't seen that one yet. We
No,
talked
but I
about this
know
before
about
though.
it.
Okay, so you know Val Kilmer, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
So you know that a while ago he was diagnosed with throat cancer and he lost his ability to speak.
Mhm.
So with the power of AI and voice mimicration, they were able to create a way for him to speak a few lines, physically speak a few lines for the movie, and they recreated his voice basically. Um, so I'm like wondering if maybe they can't do something like that for Bruce Willis and he can still act in certain parts, maybe if he's offered something.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I just think it's cool to remember him for all the greats. For me, I feel like Die Hard, The Fifth Element, Armageddon, and Red are what he's most remembered for from current day and old day.
Yep.
Armageddon is one of my dad's all-time favorite movies, and it's definitely up there for me. Talk about
Yeah,
nerdy podcast, and you got sci-fi where you're going out into space. You've got oil rig drillers going out into space to save the world with their knowledge of drilling oil on an asteroid with nuclear bombs. Like, it doesn't really get more cool sci-fi than that. And one of the greatest
yeah,
songs that
and
I think from Aerosmith, "Don't Want to Miss a
Mhm.
Thing."
mhm. I'm nodding my head and saying because I've never seen Armageddon, and y'all can yell at me later about that. I know. I
It's okay.
own the
We all
movie and
have
I've
our
never
own.
seen it.
Yeah.
We've all had those moments.
Yeah.
It's okay. I've never seen The Fifth Element either. So
Oh, ooh,
Okay,
that
that
one's
one I don't know if I can forgive.
just like I've never seen the movie with Anthony Hopkins where he's the crazy loony in prison. Um,
oh, Silence of the Lambs.
Never seen it.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but speaking of Anthony Hopkins, that was a movie series that him and Bruce Willis were both in, was Red.
Mhm.
Red is just one of the funnest series ever. You've got John Malkovich, Bruce Willis, that one chick who played Jason Statham's mom in the newer Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah. I don't
That
know her
British
name, but
MI6 chick. Yeah.
yep.
She totally reminds me of like of Queen of England type, basically.
Mhm.
But like assassin style. Um, I think she was in one of the James Bond movies with Daniel Craig, actually. Um,
I believe you're right.
I'm not a huge fan of Daniel Craig as James Bond. I'm Team Sean Connery, and I think
We'll have to go on a
Sean Connery.
James Bond episode,
Yeah.
to be honest. But
Well, because you had
Yeah.
the Eagle Eye 007s, which had Robbie Coltrane as Valentine, the
Mhm.
awesome Dmitriev, and then you had help me out with his name, the guy who came after Sean Connery.
Oh, I don't know him in order.
Oh,
Um,
oh,
you know who I'm talking about? Dark hair, sleek,
yep.
handsome, and
Ben,
dark and
Ben,
handsome.
he was in the Mamma Mia thing, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he can sing." Uh,
Yeah. Ryan, look it up for us. Just give me the first letter of the first name. Don't tell me the whole thing.
Uh,
I'll guess it immediately once you tell me the first letter of his first name. Anybody who's listening to this as a James Bond fan is gonna freaking hurt me
Yeah.
for this.
There's after Sean Connery it starts with an R,
With an
but
R?
that's not the one you're thinking of though.
Okay, tell me the
s-
one that I'm thinking of.
It
The
starts with a
first letter.
P.
With
P
a
is the
P?
first. Yep, and then
Ah,
B is the
yeah.
last name.
Pierce Brosnan.
Yep.
Pierce Brosnan. Yeah,
Yep.
he was, yeah. Who
Roger
came
Moore
before
was the
him?
one. Roger Moore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think
I
everybody's
mean
in agreement. Daniel Craig's the worst James Bond ever. But
I don't know. They each had their strengths and weaknesses, but we could do an entire episode on James Bond, to be honest.
So I got a question.
Games, movies,
previously,
everything. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
Not to reboot, but to spin off Die Hard with a similar style, who would you have fill the role of maybe not John McClane, but a similar character along those lines?
Justin Long, the guy who
I
played the tech guru.
I honestly think it would have been if they were going to do a fifth movie. Like I know they had referenced the son in the first one, but I agree with Nathan. You take the daughter, which I don't know her name, the actress, and you take Justin Long's character, and you have the two of them in a situation where they have to. What would John McClane do the whole movie long and try to live up to that reputation? And then that's where you can dial back the absurdity John McClane would accomplish, because obviously they're not going to dial it up to that level, or if they do, it would be accidental, like, oh, he would probably do this. No, you can't push that. That's going to cause this, and then oh crap, the whole factory explodes. Like, I mean, you could go that route with it, but I do agree, like those two together, if that could have carried on the story better than the fifth one for me, which, like, just to go back a little bit to the fifth one, the story is what took me out of it. Nathan talked about this, but just the fact that you took John McClane and you threw him in another country, I think really made it harder to believe that he was capable of that stuff. And I understand what they were going for, but I feel like he's in his element where he knows how the US system works. He's a cop. Yes, he's in a different jurisdiction where he doesn't have authority, but he understands the system enough to use it to his advantage where he can. And I think when you took it to an international level, it lost everything for me, and it made the story harder to follow and harder to like relate to. But that was
Yeah.
my take on that one.
Did you have a different idea, Nathan? I know you
No,
said
I
that
mean he pretty much was
Justin Long.
he was pretty much spot on. The only other thing I would have added is it would have been a perfect opportunity to have more cameo situations. Like let's say John McClane retired, and he's out as like some, retired from being a detective, and now he's like a police chief, and they had to call him, or they could make him a cameo in it,
Mhm.
and bring other cameos in, like Kevin Smith's character, or like the OG cop from the first Die Hard, and just like they're going around the country from place to place, like trying to escape like some terror cell or something
Mhm.
like that. And Justin Long's character is a tech guru,
Mhm.
and it'd be something like that. Like it's still grander scale. You still get that grander scale feeling to it, but you're within the states, and it's just a perfect opportunity for them to kind of meet people along the way. So kind of almost like a Mission Impossible style Die Hard with just a little bit of a twist. So I mean, for me, that pretty much would have been.
See, originally I was thinking like a Jason Statham kind of character to step in, but I love the idea of his daughter kind of following his footsteps, wanting to become a cop. Maybe you don't kill off John McClane, but maybe he has a similar disease that he has in real life, and he kind of takes his back step, and you can create a very powerful female character off of that. Make her
Mhm.
own, like she wants to do her own thing, but constantly kind of falling back on, well, my dad taught me this. What can I do with that? And like you said, maybe not ramp it up to McClane level, at least not yet. But you see elements of him in her and the things she's doing, That would be cool.
Mm-hmm. And if you wanted like a Jason Statham type character, you could have brought like some MI6 person who comes that they run into because he's like a hidden contact that John McClane had from like back in the day from like a case he was working, and they go to meet this person because they're running from the terror cell group, and you could have had like the villain be somebody like I don't know, uh, uh, oh, why am I slipping on his name? William Fitchner or some military type, somebody who's played roles like that in the past, or even somebody like Harrison Ford, um, as some like leader of some military branch that's going after them, and they run into Jason Statham, who's like this MI6 guy contact that John McClane had back in the day, and they team up with him to go like to these different points where these hidden things. It's like your mission, should you choose to accept it. This mission will destruct in 5 seconds. Good luck. Um, but here's a real question for you guys. Die Hard. John McClane's gone. He dies or something else, kind of like Ryan was talking about, and there's a new Die Hard movie. If you had the opportunity to direct it and write it, what would the plot be?
I mean, I literally think we were spot on with carrying on Justin Long and the
Yeah.
daughter's situation, but I would say in the second movie, they're trying to transport that guy to get him out of trouble from whatever South American country he was coming from.
Oh yeah,
His
yeah.
his kid catches wind of that and is going after John McClane's daughter as vengeance because John McClane's gone and out of the picture. So he's taking his vengeance on their family because his father was taken away. And that could be your villain arc there. So it's similar to the third one where it's Hans Gruber's brother, but now it's child versus child carrying on the legacy of the two. So I think that would be where I would go with it.
And I would even take it and
Die
instead
from a
of cranking it
vengeance.
up, dial it back. So maybe she's going to like a concert or some type of where she's located at a singular area. So it's a stadium and she's got to run around the stadium and try and avoid them while she's in the backstage and underneath and everything, as opposed to a grander scale. Dial it back to give that feel again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like uh, uh, die on a vengeance or death of a vengeance. Something like pun of the whole Die Hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
But something like that.
And then you have like a
You
blimp or
close the
something
series
go up
out.
instead of
Vengeance
an airplane.
dies hard.
Vengeance dies hard. Yes, there we go.
Uh,
See, man, like that's the thing with a lot of these series is they continue to keep going, going, going to make a buck when they should have stopped like movies ago. Now I'll stand on top of my podium and I'll talk about Fast and Furious, how I enjoy it. But Mission Impossible is one I'll defend till my grave. Tom Cruise has a way with continuing to make films great, no matter how long he's doing them. You can shake that, and we'll have a war of nerds on that. Because you haven't watched all of them, so
but with the
have
War
you?
of Nerds, you have to hate on it, and then Ryan would have to defend
It's not gonna happen because I hate
it.
Tom Cruise with a passion. It doesn't matter how good the movie or the concept is. I think he's terribly overrated, and I will go on record. He can watch this podcast, hey Tom Cruise, and I'll come have a conversation with how bad of an actor I think he is.
I love this. This is great.
Do, 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 do. We're sorry, we're experiencing technical difficulties.
I do want to say it is interesting, like talking about how movie series continue on and go past where they should, but we're all fantasy authors, and how often have fantasy books extended probably far beyond when they should have
Brandon Sanderson.
ended? Hey, all right, now
But
I'm kidding. Hey, if you're listening to this podcast, Mr. Sanderson, I'm completely joking. And I'm almost done with the Way of Kings, so I hope you're proud of me. It's actually really good. So
look forward to a review of that in season 2 here soon, because I think all three of
Yes.
us are about done with
all
it.
3 of us will be done, and we'll move on to the Words of Radiance once we get to that point. For those of you who know anything about the Stormlight Archives, holy good night of almighty Stormfather, they're long. Throw that in there because it's totally fitting. You want to take epic fantasy to the next level? Well, is it George like Brandon Sanderson saw George Martin's Game of Thrones? He's just like, hold my beer or whatever beverage of his choice, of course. You think I'm joking, people, readers who have not read the Stormlight Archives, but I'm not. Every single one of those books are over 1,000 pages long, and it's you just think that there's not any more that you could learn, and then a few chapters later, you're just like, "What's this? Oh, Dalinar Kholin is actually a main character. I thought he was just something from the prologue, and we would never see him again." And like same thing with Yasna, and you're just like, "Oh, Shallan's like training with her and stuff. Like interesting." Anyways, this is not about the Way of Kings. This is about Die Hard. As tangents, like we always do with all of our episodes, we go completely off topic. But really, I think we've really pretty much talked about like all there really is about Die Hard. Trying to think about any closing thoughts. I can't really think of much.
I got 2. I know we mentioned the movie, but we talk too much about him. But Samuel L. Jackson in the 3rd movie, very good performance, and I love their back and forth. And then another cameo in I think the 2nd movie, John Leguizamo is in it as one of the soldiers, and like he's one of my favorite underrated actors. But so those are 2 that I definitely wanted to highlight before we
from NYPD Blue. He was the airport guy.
Yep.
The airport cop.
Yeah, it's same thing with the FBI guys.
Yeah, both of those
the
two.
FBI guys who got blown up in the helicopter because they thought they were like, awesome. Like, yeah, but hey man, this is like Vietnam. I was in diapers then. Exactly. Yeah, it was funny. But for all of our listeners, we're just so thankful and grateful that you've followed us through all of season 1, and we really hope that you enjoy the last few episodes we have for this season. We got some great ones left. One more interview and a few more of ours, but we hope you really are looking forward to season 2 because it's going to be epic. But as that goes, that's a wrap. And as always, we've been your bearded nerdy hosts forever and always. And we'll leave you with the classic line. Yippee-ki-yay. Sorry, we're experiencing technical difficulties. And so anyways, we'll be back with our next episode soon. Hope you all are enjoy the rest of your evenings, and till then, we've been your bearded nerdy hosts. Funky fantasy, the bowl, Stratus arrows, it's the war of nerds. See y'all next.